This is an ender pearl sphere, and this is a strange block. Here are 39 satisfying Minecraft experiments. If you construct a large square grid out of observers all facing like this, and then place another layer of observers facing outward, and place sticky pistons directly on top of them, next, cover the pistons in a massive canvas of bright multicolored concrete to create a flawless rainbow gradient. By wiring the corner to a simple 4-repeater redstone clock, you feed a continuous signal into the machine. The pistons activate in a delayed sequence, forcing the concrete to bounce up and down in a fluid, hypnotic rainbow ocean, which looks really beautiful. Let's create a floating snake wave using explosive blocks that cannot ignite. By utilizing special entity data to spawn stable, unlit TNT blocks, you can channel them into a flowing water stream on an incline. The heavy blocks gently slide down the track before bouncing rhythmically up and down like a smooth moving snake. You can achieve insane speeds by turning Minecraft boat physics into a racing game. Line up a massive winding highway made entirely of blue ice blocks, curving through custom mountains, deep caves, and neon rainbow clouds. Because boats lose almost all friction on ice, you can tap the keys to instantly accelerate past sprinting speeds, drifting smoothly around sharp turns like an arcade racer. If you set up 2 simple command blocks that rapidly rotate on invisible armor stands while constantly spawning ender pearls right where it looks, once the orbit finishes spinning, you are left with a perfectly floating geometric sphere of dark purple pearls. Igniting a single block of TNT right in the dead center blasts all the pearls outward in a flawless circular shockwave, and it honestly looks super cool. Ever wanted to slow down gravity without using any mods? Build a massive towering wall using nothing but honey blocks and line the top edge with a row of automated dispensers packed with diamonds. When the redstone fires, the item shoots directly against the sticky surface, causing thousands of glowing gems to slowly slide and drift downward in perfect slow motion. Here is what happens when you maximize your player's speed to the absolute limit. Instead of walking over grass, build a massive flat highway of amethyst blocks stretching into the distance. Next, give yourself a permanent speed 255 effect. The second your feet touches the track, you instantly blink across thousands of blocks, forcing the game to play a chaotic explosion of crystal chimes all at once. Watch an entire world instantly aged thousands of years in the blink of an eye. Generate a custom flat map made entirely out of copper blocks, and immediately crank the random tick speed to maximum. The second the game clock unfreezes, a massive wave-like chemical reaction ripples across the landscape, like a digital virus, creating a truly satisfying sight. Let's launch a massive rainbow sand bomb from the absolute ceiling of the world. By rigging a science-supported grid of gravity blocks with a TNT minecart at build height, you trigger a massive mid-air explosion. Instead of a chaotic mess, the blast shoots columns of colorful sand straight down in perfectly rigid geometric patterns. If you use a multicolored palette, the warm and cold colors separate cleanly in mid-air, raining down like perfect lines of sprinkles. By using commands, you expand a single chorus fruit until it forms a massive towering purple canopy that completely blocks out the sky. Once it reaches its limit, break the very bottom block to trigger a total chain reaction. The entire colossal structure instantly snaps and collapses, creating a laggy, frame-dropping explosion where thousands of purple items violently bounce off each other in midair. Imagine building a giant, flawless block pyramid for just one epic moment. Place a water bucket at the dead center of the highest peak and watch the liquid spill outward. It rolls down every single tier in a perfectly balanced, sprawling square wave, wrapping the entire monument in a smooth, glassy curtain. When you lay down a massive grid of skulk sensors and place iron trapdoors directly on top of them, the moment a single snowball hits the ground, it triggers a ripple of opening and closing trapdoors. Watching a sound wave physically move across the floor looks super satisfying. What happens when you force hundreds of Minecraft's most explosive items into the exact same pixel? By using a repeating command block, we spawn hundreds of end crystals directly inside of each other on a single block. The models instantly merge and glitch, transforming into a glowing, rapidly vibrating orb of pure sci-fi energy. And it looks so satisfying until you touch it. Ditch boring item hoppers for a hyperfast dancing item elevator. Alternate lines of packed ice and upward pushing soul sand water columns to create a massive diagonal staircase. Dropping items at the bottom causes them to aggressively slide across the ice and shoot straight up the bubble beams, bouncing effortlessly to the next tier. Watching rows of rare loot fluidly dance and hop their way up a massive tower looks pretty satisfying. This trick lets you vaporize a massive mountain of solid blocks in a single second. First, use command blocks to build a giant, solid cube entirely out of infested silverfish stone. Then, Simply splash a potion of poison right on the top layer. Because a poison tick hurts the silverfish, they aggressively break out of their blocks, instantly causing a chain reaction that forces every single hidden bug underneath to panic and escape, which looks pretty satisfying. And if you're enjoying the video so far, hitting that subscribe button would be a silver wish come true. Get it? Silverfish? Never mind. Fill a massive flat floor with hundreds of enchanting tables and walk directly over the center. Because the floating purple books are hard-coded to automatically open and turn toward the nearest player, moving your character causes the entire grid of pages to smoothly tilt and track your exact movement. Break a precise 4x4 grid in the center of a platform and extend 7 blocks out on each side to craft a balanced funnel. Filling the outer edges with water forces the currents to rush inward, colliding in the center to form a spinning rhythmic drain. Tossing thousands of colorful items into the pool causes them to spin around in a perfect spiral. Modify a heavy crossbow to fire custom projectiles that drop lit TNT blocks behind them as they fly across the sky. Pulling the trigger launches an arrow high over the map, painting a beautiful, arching rainbow of bombs that smoothly rain destruction down onto the terrain below. Upgrade a basic redstone rail track into a massive rolling mechanical ocean wave. Instead of a single line of tracks, link dozens of layers of powered rails and minecarts side by side in a staggered pattern. When you power the system, the minecarts move in a perfectly timed delay, creating a giant rolling ripple effect that looks like a liquid wave. Because sand blocks break when falling onto a torch, you can actually use that logic to stack them up into an intricate floating tower pattern by placing them on top of active torches. Once you construct a massive multicolored geometric structure, simply break the very bottom torch. The entire tower grid instantly unlocks, smoothly crumbling downward block by block in a perfectly neat line. Watch the game's water mechanics instantly heal a giant void in the sea. Create a custom world made entirely of water sources and use command blocks to delete a massive deep square section right out of the middle of the ocean. Because water blocks naturally generate new sources when they collide, the surrounding sea aggressively rushes inward to seal the gap. Look at this strange block. By carefully placing blocks at varying distances and specific heights, you can line up your camera at a precise angle to make the entire corridor look like a single, solid, floating custom block. The illusion completely breaks the moment you move your camera even an inch, revealing the massive hollow space hidden behind the trick. We jammed a massive horde of thousands of zombies into a tight glass box until they were completely compressed. Then, we whipped out a custom sword enchanted with sweeping edge 100 and took just one single swing. In a fraction of a second, a massive green flash deletes the entire crowd at once, leaving behind an explosion of floating green XP points. How many mobs can a single arrow actually shoot through before it stops? To find out, we lined up a massive row of villagers in a perfectly straight line across the map. Then, we loaded up a crossbow enchanted with maximum piercing and took aim down the sights. The moment you pull the trigger, the arrow zips right through the crowd, deleting dozens of entities instantly in a flawless, rapid-fire chain reaction. Instead of placing concrete block by block, we drop a massive long wall of multicolored concrete powder from the sky straight into a pool of water. The exact second the gravity blocks touch the surface, they instantly flash and solidify into a perfectly clean row of hard concrete. Watching a soft, falling powder current snap into a solid, vibrant wall in the blink of an eye looks super satisfying. We built a giant apocalyptic machine in the sky just to test the villagers' survival limits. Instead of a normal raid, we unleashed multiple waves of falling blocks directly onto a helpless village. First came a heavy downpour, a pointed dripstone, followed by a crushing ceiling of heavy anvils, and finally, a massive blanket of sand and gravel. Watching the entire village get completely flattened and buried in real time under a roaring avalanche of blocks is absolute chaos. Minecraft players usually panic when items hit lava, but this experiment turns it into art. We stacked hundreds of shulker boxes, all packed to the brim with netherite tools, directly above a massive pool of burning lava, and then broke the blocks holding them up. Because netherite is completely fireproof, the boxes burst open and burned, sending thousands of dark netherite items floating flawlessly to the surface in a massive, bubbling wave. Just look at this! Did you know you can unlock a secret glitch fluid by making working quicksand? First, layer soul sand, water, and cobwebs, signboards, then drop gravity blocks like sand right on top. The result is a deadly trap that swallows entities whole. But here's where it gets crazy. If you break one signboard underneath, the physics completely blend together. The sand blocks morph into a bubbling liquid that slowly falls into place, which is really satisfying. You can infect an entire Minecraft world with skull catalysts using just one single block. To pull this off, we built a massive sky fountain that drops millions of high XP Ravagers directly into a skull catalyst. The moment they hit the ground and die, it unleashes a wave of darkness. You get to watch the creepy alien terrain aggressively climb up mountains, override caves, and swallow the entire biome in real time, and it looks super cool. Here's the ultimate way to scratch that hoarding itch in Minecraft. Imagine filling a massive grid of chests with millions of random items, and then blowing them all up at once. Suddenly, the floor is buried under a swirling, chaotic ocean of floating loot. But the best is walking right through the center of the pile and vacuuming everything up. Hearing thousands of item pickup sounds pop in a split second is just heavenly. What if you spawn 100 wardens in a tiny pit, stand on top of them, and trigger their sonic boom at the same time? Usually, one warden hits you with a blast that knocks you back a few blocks. But when you cram 100 of Minecraft's strongest mobs into a single spot, the overcrowding creates an insane chain reaction. The moment they blast, you get violently launched straight into the clouds, and those wardens look really cool. If you grow bamboo in a huge area and remove the bottom blocks, it triggers a massive domino effect, making this crisp, rapid-fire popping sound that clears your ears. And watching bamboo slowly vanishing from above looks super satisfying. Using a dynamic fluid simulation mod, spawn a massive floating orb of pure liquid directly over a giant dome built entirely out of dry sponges. The moment you release the water sphere, gravity takes over and it drops like a massive balloon, slamming straight into the sponge grid. It's so satisfying. Instead of placing normal wooden stairs, use a complex layout of 18 entirely different blocks, including open trapdoors, daytime sensors, chest lids, and snow layers, just to move up a single block in height. When you walk forward, your character smoothly glides up a microscopic, hyper-detailed incline that looks like a flawless diagonal ramp. Watching a chaotic mess of random blocks align to a perfectly smooth walking path feels really satisfying. Sometimes during the world generation, massive deserts glitch out and spawn completely floating over deep, hollow dark caves. Fly down into the ravine and locate the single structural sand block holding the entire floating ceiling together. The exact millisecond you punch it, a massive block update races across the entire area, and it looks pretty satisfying. Harvesting your crops after they have grown is such a grind. Instead, construct a terraced pyramid packed with thousands of fully grown wheat, potato, and carrot crops. By activating a single trapdoor at the highest peak, a massive spreading wave of water rushes downward, spilling across every single tier in a perfect cascading blanket. The fluid cleanly pops thousands of crops out of the soil layer by layer. Goats have a unique AI trait that forces them to randomly jump over wide gaps, but you can control this completely using commands. Build a massive checkerboard pattern of stone pillars separated by deep 4-block drops, and place a goat on every single platform. The moment you execute the jump command, all of the goats simultaneously launch themselves into the air, crossing the gaps in a flawless, perfectly synchronized cloud of motion. Activate a realistic physics mod that removes infinite water sources and forces liquids to flow based on volume and gravity. Build a massive stone dam holding back a giant ocean. Then remove the wall of the dam. The water instantly reacts like a real flood, violently gushing through the beach and smoothly leveling out across the landscape. The game usually caps entity cramming at a strict limit of 24 mobs on a single block before they start suffocating. By running a quick command to bump that rule up to 500, you can stack hundreds of chickens directly inside the exact same space, compressing them into a single block. The second you break out the block holding them, the extreme pressure instantly releases and the entire crowded mob explodes outward, splattering hundreds of chickens across the landscape flawlessly, which is the most satisfying thing ever. Distract a group of terrifying monsters to watch their sensors light up in an echo. Spawn a tight, circular huddle of blind wardens inside a dark arena, and toss a single snowball directly into the absolute center of the crowd. The moment the projectile impacts the ground, the sound waves travel outward, causing every single monster's glowing head antennas to light up and ripple in a perfectly synchronized circular pattern. And if you want to see 25 amazing redstone contraptions that you should try, click on the video on your screen now.